Hey guys, welcome to Entertainment Talk Nation. This is Rob. This video, we're going to do March to the King 2, another Godzilla 2018 based video. And this one, I entitled, I should say, where do we start? And that question is aimed mainly at where would the next movie begin? Not only in terms of story, but location. Where would these things start happening again? And that's a very difficult question when you sit back and think about it. I think probably the easiest thing to consider is that the second movie I don't think is going to happen directly after the events of the first movie. I think time will pass. I think years will pass. When you consider, it wouldn't make sense, or at least we can't, when you consider how realistic they try to make this Godzilla, it doesn't make sense to suddenly bring him right back out, maybe like a year later. He's a large monster. He just had a big fight with two very, very tough monsters themselves, and he's bruised, he's beaten, he's tired. I would think Godzilla's got to take a bit of a rest. So in terms of the start of the movie, I think we're looking at a couple years passing by before the kaiju starts to resurface. Now, in terms of location, well, that's the interesting thing. You know, we've already looked at San Francisco, and they took some part in Japan and things of that nature. It's going to be very hard to predict what city these events might take place again. But looking at it from a perspective of marketing and business, it wouldn't surprise me if some of this movie, if not a good chunk of it, take place in Asia, China, or maybe even return to Japan. I think there's a good chance of that happening too when you consider finances. But that notwithstanding, I think there's definitely other cities that would be a compelling choice. I would like to see New York or Boston. Boston never gets destroyed. I live up here now, so why not New York or Massachusetts? It's tough to predict. It's tough. We definitely know it's not going to be San Francisco. Chicago seems to be very popular these days when it comes to movies. So maybe the movie taking place in Chicago. It all depends really which monster is going to be opposing Godzilla in this movie and where they plan on starting that monster's origins. You know, does it start in a lab that happens to be in Chicago? You know, theoretically speaking, is it a monster that's grown in the sea, or you know, does Mothra come from another? Is there going to be theoretically an Easter Island? Maybe not by name, but something to represent Easter Island, where Mothra is from. And when she does come from the island, what city is she going to fight to next and why? So it's kind of hard to predict where they're going to go in terms of location. But like I said, China, Asia, possibly Japan. I definitely think we'll go back to Japan at some point or another. I kind of think you have to continue to make sure that you keep that link between Godzilla and Japan. But outside of that, I think it's really hard to predict where they're going to start, where a lot of the chunk of this stuff is going to take place. We know it'll probably take place in America, but the question remains where. And we know what cities may be out, but what cities are they going to bring in? Like I said, Chicago's been very popular. New York hasn't been visited in a while. So I wouldn't mind seeing New York, you know, especially if you're going to have a big battle with Godzilla and Mothra, or Godzilla and Rodan, or Godzilla and Ghidorah. God, can you imagine that taking place in the heart of New York? Ooh, that would be awesome. So that is kind of the question now. That's one question that's been lingering with me for a while, is where? Where is this going to happen? What's going to take place, and why is it going to take place there? And that's the one thing that's been really, really difficult to answer. And the only way I can find an answer is if I try to look at it outside of the movie as well, in finances, which is why I think a place like Asia, specifically China, wouldn't surprise me. But we will find out as we continue to roll through 2015. We still have 2.5 more years before this movie is released to the public. And I'm sure at least another year, roughly, before we start hearing whispers of what we can expect, and casting news and things like that. Should be exciting. Anyway, guys, that's it for this video. So where do you think it's going to start, and why do you think it's going to start there? Let me know in the comments below. This is Rob signing off for ETN, where we don't do news, we just talk entertainment. Take it easy.
Thank you for watching ETN. Don't forget to comment, share, and subscribe. Join the nation's Facebook page to meet other subscribers, or visit ETN's Facebook page and Twitter page. Links for all are in the description. You're watching ETN. Share and subscribe.
Hey guys, welcome to Entertainment Talk Nation. This is Rob. This video, we're going to do March to the King 2, another Godzilla 2018 based video. And this one, I entitled, I should say, where do we start? And that question is aimed mainly at where would the next movie begin? Not only in terms of story, but location. Where would these things start happening again? And that's a very difficult question when you sit back and think about it. I think probably the easiest thing to consider is that the second movie I don't think is going to happen directly after the events of the first movie.